Welcome, welcome to the Peace of Wellness podcast. Thank you for joining me. I am your host, Kirsten Larsen, and I have a couple gentlemen here today. We are going to talk about the idea of success, what that means, and I'm going to start with, we have Sasha. I'll let you introduce yourself, and if you would, just tell us a little bit about like where you're from, where you grew up, what you do for a living, and then I'll have you answer what your superpower is. So what makes you special and unique?
So my name is Sasha Palatnikov. Born and raised in Hong Kong. I've grown up all over the place, a bit of a citizen of the world, kind of, and I fight professionally for a living. That's one of my professions. I'm also a business owner, so those are some of the things that I get up to on a daily basis. But in terms of answering your question, what do I believe my superpower is? It's a tough one, but I would say overall is my adaptability, just being able to adapt and be calm under difficult situations.
Yeah.
And I think that translates well to what I do in my day to day and in my profession as well. So that's what I would say my superpower is.
Yeah, I love that. I have to say, one of my favorite things you've ever posted was a video of you changing your accent to be where the different places that you've lived. And I can't even remember exactly what it was, but I remember you like slipping into a Brooklyn accent too.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, no, having lived everywhere and just been around different cultures and stuff, and I guess having that ability to just pick up different accents on the fly has just been something that I've naturally been able to do.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I have to point out though, I don't think you ever lived anywhere in the Midwest, did you?
No.
Yeah, not quite everywhere, Sasha.
No,
not quite.
I can't say everywhere, but
Right.
I've been on some continents.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
I love that. Thank you.
No
And
worries.
Dion, how about you? Please introduce yourself, where you're from.
Yeah, I'm Dion. I was born in Hollywood, California. And like Sasha here, been traveling around a lot. I went to elementary school, part of elementary school in Germany, and then moved back to the States pretty much after that, raised in California, Pasadena area.
Mm-hmm.
Moved here about 11 years ago for my pursuit of furthering my career in real estate and in the restaurant business. Plenty of restaurants in Vegas to work with. So that's what I'm here. As far as superpower, it's always hard to say about yourself what you think a superpower is, but I would say unique about me, I'm not a crowd follower. I enjoy having different views on things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we talk to people that think like us all the time, it's pretty much an echo chamber. So talking to people with other ideas, I feel like we learn a lot about the world and about ourselves.
Yeah. So it's interesting because the two of you, which, I don't know either of you all that well, but I see in you that you guys have lived in different places, like explored different cultures, and have certainly chosen to think for yourselves. So that is something I see in common with the two of you. And so I'm curious really how, especially living in these other places and then living, finding yourself in Las Vegas, how would you define success? That's kind of the theme of today's conversation. And how has where you grew up impacted that idea? What do you guys think?
You going with me first?
Sure.
So I think success is defined in happiness. One area that you can define success, I have a formula for it actually. I believe, this is my belief, my theory that has proven to be ironclad when I've witnessed it. Go to school, get your diploma, either go to college or don't. Find any job, do your best at it, meet a woman, and I'll be clear, if you're a man, meet a woman. If you're a woman, meet a man. Not speaking out against same-sex relationships, but just ironclad success. Meet a woman, marry her, have as many kids as you can, and the defining thing of how the nuance of that, how you really become successful, have that woman stay home and take care of your kids. And I believe that when you're working for someone other than yourself, you're your best person. And if you have that support at home, there's no way you're not going to have success. That's my definition.
Okay. So many things in this. The first one is you have what I would call very traditional gender roles, like that supporting your idea of success. Is that?
Well, this is the ironclad way to have it. I'm not saying that you can't have success and happiness other ways.
Okay.
But this is where there's no way that it's not going to work out.
So I would have to say that the fact that we can find everything under the sun, right? That I feel like some people could find discontentment or unhappiness with this recipe. And
how?
Well, I would say, okay, so, number one, the very first thing that you said about happiness, you said it's happiness, right?
Right.
My thing about happiness is I believe happiness is fleeting because it's a feeling. It's like sadness. It's like frustration. It's like anger. It's a feeling, right? So when I talk to my coaching clients about it, what I see as where we want to be headed or what we want to get to is actually like a contentment or a peace. And honestly, that's why I named my business Peace of Wellness, because I want people to find an inner sense of peace. But to me, happiness is fleeting, right? Like sadness is fleeting. We're going to have all these feelings and it depends on what's going on around us and all these external factors. But if we can have a sense of peace or contentment through it, that's really our goal. And maybe that's, I mean, is that something, or do you see that as kind of what you were meaning by happiness, or do you just disagree with that?
I think contentment and success are two different things. You can be content, but not be fully successful, in my opinion.
Sure.
So within the realm of defining true ironclad success, that's the formula that I believe. Now, as far as contentment, we can be single, we can have a career, we can be famous and successful, and you're content with your life. Everyone sees that. You know? But as far as having success through happiness, through true happiness, I believe a family is where it starts.
Yeah.
You know, because that's when you're raising a family, you're doing the most important thing ever. You're creating other human beings that are going to be important structures in our life. And there's just no other value, in my opinion, that succeeds that.
Sure. Well, and I think we'll touch on that in a bit too. But I think that where I can see, you know, what you said is you can be single and content. I feel like that's how they could define success. Like if they're content, then that could be success to them.
That could be some people's definition of success, for sure.
Some people's, yeah. Sasha, what would you say about how you would define success?
I mean, at the end of the day, being happy. You know, everyone goes through different stages in their lives depending on what's going on in life. But for me, the most important thing is freedom and happiness, being able to do whatever you want to do in life. You're not constricted to one place. And I do believe family is very important too. When the time comes to have a family, to have your homestead, I believe that's an important factor in being able to provide for your family, making sure everybody's happy, you know. But for me at this stage in my life, I'm very focused on my career and being able to travel around the world, being able to compete, and because I know this is a small window. And I want to, it's like, throughout our lives, we have chapters, and being able to go through these chapters, I want to be selfish at this time in my life where I can have this short period. And then it's like, then I'm on to another chapter where I'm focused on other things and focused on potentially having a family, potentially going on and doing other things in my life, So for me, at the end of the day, it's always been about being free. I'd never wanted to be stuck in an office or a cubicle. I got my degree. I was working in an industry where I could just be on the go, work from a internet connection. And that to me was happiness, because I was able to be free and travel and see the world and do what I wanted to do. That was the most important thing for me. Obviously everybody has their own definition, but for me personally, that's pretty much what I would consider success, being able to have the freedom to experience the things you want to experience and not be restricted or be told or be held in a place where you can't do those things. So that's what it was or has been for me.
I think what's interesting about that, where I see a real advantage in being a man, is that you talked about a window of time. Like you're mid 30s, right? Mid 30s. So you're saying, I would love for this time to be able to take my career seriously because, you know, as a fighter, you have to have your health, and youth is part of that. And so, you know, you're identifying that window as, you know, this is where I can be in my peak shape. And, you know, as we get older, we know that is tougher to do. But for women, it's tough because, you know, men can have kids literally till they're 70 or 80. And, you know, we have such tighter windows there where I have really had kind of the struggle of finding like my purpose with my business and how much joy I get from helping others and working with others coincides exactly with the time that I'm able to have kids, you know? And so I think that that's tough, which again, I mean, my podcast right now, these episodes are focused on men and the conversations around men. But I think that that's just something that really sticks out to me because that's just such a fortunate thing that you can say like, you know, now in this window of time, I can focus on this because you know that most likely kids are still an option for you 5 years, 10 years down the road, you know? And so I think that that's one piece that is different for men. I'd be curious what you think, Dion, as far as, you know, having a family. If the two people are unable to have a family, how can they still, you know, have quote unquote success or find success if they're physically unable to do that?
And that's a prominent thing in our life. You know, we have situations where we can't always do that. Then you just do the next best thing that could create that success. Get married, focus on your career, and then, you know, you have each other as a support. But I believe marriage and family is the most prominent way to gain success and happiness. If your significant other ends up being the only way you can have a family, then your family's just smaller.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, I'm not saying the only way that you gain happiness and success is by having a big family. I'm just saying that's the ironclad way, you know, and the woman staying home, taking care of the kids, she has the most important career that anyone could ever have.
Sure.
You know? Staying home, taking care of not only the home and her husband, but also raising beautiful children.
My question for that, because I'm a person that I absolutely love kids. If you follow me on social media, I have adopted friends here, twins, and I have nephews and I adore them. And so I have like a very maternal instinct and I would like to have kids and all this, right? However, I know from my friends, my female friends that are moms, they love being moms, but they feel like they lose some identity in that when it's just that as well. And I feel like for me, because I love helping other people so much and I get so much, you know, internal satisfaction and reward, from actually, I mean, people will tell me that I've actually helped change their lives, right? Like that's really the ultimate. Is it every client? Of course not. But having that be such a piece of what I find fulfilling, I wonder what you think about women who, yes, love being mothers, but know that they want something in addition to that as well, or beyond that as well.
How do we know they want something in addition? They've told you?
Yeah. I personally have friends that have said they can't, or they wouldn't want to just stay at home with the kids.
Sure. So, you know, and I've talked to people that have said that too, but I would say more often than not, the women that are staying home with their children have less regrets than the women that are out on their careers and haven't, and kind of are watching their clock saying, I may not be able to do this for that much longer.
Yeah.
I see more remorse on that side than I do on the stay-at-home mom. And I'm not saying that that's gonna be however,
always,
you know, maybe they're married
sure.
to the wrong person, maybe they're a stay-at-home single mom, you know.
Yeah.
So there's other things that probably broke from that original formula to make a woman feel, I wish I didn't stay home and have these kids. I wish I would have followed my dream of, becoming
Doing
a
X,
career
Y, and Z,
person.
Yeah. So, okay, well that's kind of a separate topic, but I'm curious too, Sasha, what you feel like, as far as how you've defined success as like having freedom and being able to move around and whatnot. Do you feel like that is tied to like wealth and status? Or, I mean, I think that we can all say that, of course, the freedom to move around and do different things takes money, right? Like at a certain extent. But do you see it as being something that's directly tied to making money? Or do you see that someone with, less money but less overhead could still be successful if they're able to kind of have that freedom? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, you need money to do anything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But that was the whole thing that's why I was at a crossroads in college where I didn't know what it was. I was a history major at the time, and I just chose that degree because I was just playing sports, and I wasn't really too focused on my education. And then I had like a family friend and mentor who basically just told me you should study this, that, and the other, and I can put you in the right direction. And I studied computer science and communications and got into kind of the social media world a little bit, and was able to make money in college. So that to me was like the most important thing, because I knew what I wanted to do, but I knew that I needed money to do it. So
Yeah.
my whole process was just put money away, take jobs here and there. I was working sometimes 3-4 jobs. I was hustling. I was doing whatever I could do to build a nice like nest egg so that I could go live 6-7 months in Thailand without having the stress. So I could just focus on training, and then I could take a fight and then add to the nest egg. And so it was just like a strategic move that I just kind of like figured out that I wanted to do in college, because I knew, especially at the beginning of my career, I wasn't going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like that's not how it works. So I knew I had to be making money. I knew how hard the industry was. So I went in the opposite way. Usually people go in and they run out of money, or they don't have any money, or they got to work a full-time job, a 9 to 5, just to support the sport. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that guy. That's how you fall like out of love with what you do. So I was doing this because I loved what I do, but at the same time I was like, I got to do this smart. I didn't want to struggle. I know what it takes. So like I said, I was, selling things on Craigslist. I was doing everything I could to just make money to put away. I was just saving. And then when I was able to just do that throughout my career, I didn't have status at the time. I was a nobody, like I had a background in professional sport. I had education. I've been fortunate enough to travel. But in regards to like just being able to do what I wanted to do, it took self-interest, motivation. Like if you're not motivated to anything and you have no desires, you're just going to sit there and be like an empty vessel. So I was always been like, ever since I was a young kid, motivated, and I love what I do. That's been like, I've always, like my parents always said, like, just do what you love. I love what you do. So I just was like, I love playing sports. I love competing. So I was like, I'm gonna make that happen.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
I think too, and tell me what you think, but I feel like when I've traveled overseas, I've heard from, like, I actually met several Australians that basically their like way of living life was to work for maybe 6-7 months, save a bunch of money, and then literally travel for the next 5-6 months. And I feel like that's also kind of a European way of living. And it's so opposite of the United States, where we're like, I mean, especially coming from the Midwest, the ideology is really just like work hard every day till you die. And it's like work the 9 to 5 until, your bones, your knuckles are showing. And like, that's how I grew up. And I think also being a product of growing up in the 90s and early 2000s is we were really sold this idea that if you go to college, you're going to be fine. You're going to be set. You're going to be okay for life, And in post COVID, we have seen that that's really not the case. And the eruption of, entrepreneurship and trying to find stability in that instability, I think has been bigger. But I think what you were describing is definitely more so what I've heard as kind of like the European way of life or Australian way of life, where they really put so much value on doing what they love and doing that more so than this menial kind of like everyday job or work, you know?
For sure. Yeah, no, I just feel like you're not, like people consider like, oh, your job is crazy, like what you do is insane, blah blah blah. But it's like I don't have to do this. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't. So it's not forced for me to do this. I don't have to do this to pay for my next electricity bill.
Right.
Like, you know
It's
what I
really
mean?
just
I
out
do
of
this out
love.
of passion and
Yeah.
competition. Like that's genuinely the reason to do it. And I've been doing it since I was 5 years old. So it's like it's ingrained with me, you know. So I've done it my whole life. It's not something that I'm like uncomfortable doing,
Sure.
you know. So that's why I'm like, I have a small window. I'm a realistic person. I know what I'm capable of. And if I feel like I'm not pushing what I need to push in terms of my performance and my ability, then I call it a day,
Yeah.
you know, and move on to the next chapter. But it's one of those things where, yeah, I've just been very fortunate to just kind of have the full picture early. You know, I was around the game from a very young age, and I saw how hard it was to be a fighter. So I kind of saw like, okay, I shouldn't do this, I should do that. And I learned, and I'm just being a huge fan of the sport, like
Yeah.
gave me a lot of insight. So yeah,
I think
it's
that
just,
passion is
So
what
you
has
never got picked on in elementary school.
nah, there was a couple attempts early on, but then, you know, that changed quite quick. So
But you were never the bully, were you, Sasha?
never really an instigator in that regard. If ever there was something that would like happen, I would be someone that would come and clean it up, you know, kind of thing. But I loved to fight even as a young kid, but I would never like instigate a fight.
Yeah.
Someone would have to be involved, and then it would give me like a reason.
Get you riled up.
Yeah, you know, if my friends were fighting, or if there was somebody like getting involved, or somebody did something like a cheap shot or was a bully, that's when I would defend that person and
Yeah.
get in the scrap. But that was just always something that I did at a young age, and never thought. And it was just programmed as a young kid by my parents, like, you don't want to be a professional fighter. You don't ever want to be a fighter. We were always in the combat world watching sports, but I played rugby professionally. That was like my first sport. So yeah, I never thought I would be a professional fighter. I was just like, oh, I know how to do it. And then when I saw how big and popular the UFC and everything got, that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should do this. Like low key, I've been training this my whole life. Like maybe I should give it a shot.
Give it
you
a
know?
try.
Stop doing it on the street and just do it, get paid for it.
Right.
You know? So yeah, it was just one of those things that it just, yeah, it was like full circle. You
Yeah.
know? And
Well, and I can really hear like your love and passion for it. And so I'm curious for you, Dion, like, do you feel like what you're doing, you have a real love and passion for? Like, cause I know that you do real estate. I know you work in the restaurant industry. Do you have like a love and passion for that? Or do you find that your love and passion is just, you know, more through your family or that kind of thing?
I think my skill set lies in the passion for connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that with things that I enjoy. You know, I enjoy food and wine. I think being a world traveler has made me at a young age adopt that sort of passion. And, you know, so when you put those two together, I would say, yes, I'm doing what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
I'm a realtor also. That the passion for that is there, but the consumption of fine wine and talking to people about that's my heart.
Well, that might be a passion of Sasha's too, just on the side, right?
What's that?
Just like food and wine, or food, or like, you know.
I like
just,
food.
Right?
I don't drink alcohol,
We all
but
have to like food, you know.
Yeah.
but food, yeah, you can't go wrong with food.
I know. I'm
sure.
a huge foodie too, and again, I don't drink, so you know, I have in the past, but it's not really my thing. But
You
food,
got crazy.
I can talk about. Actually, no, I really have never liked it.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so in
not for
college,
everyone.
you do it because everyone's doing it, and like even in grad school, it's
There's always that first wine that you try that makes you love wine forever.
well,
And I
that's
would
not
just say you probably
happened.
haven't had
Yeah.
it yet.
I'll task you with figuring out
Sure,
what that is.
I've had that experience with wine that's always like a one-off where I have no idea what it was, and I
Yeah.
have it and I'm like, that was incredible, and I can never find out
You're
what
done.
it is.
You're done after that.
Yeah.
You know,
You
just
really-
never can find it.
You don't know what it was or how it happened.
My neighbor gave me a bottle of wine,
Oh.
and I ended up drinking it and was like, this was actually amazing, and
Yeah.
and then I just forgot
right,
what
to
it
actually
was.
keep track of it.
what it was.
Yeah.
So We'll never know.
Well, I'd be curious, and we touched on this a little bit, but I'd be curious if you guys, what you would say about where you grew up, these other countries that you spent time in. Do you feel like their definition of success is similar or mimics what the US defines success as? Or like, do you see similarities with it? Or do you really feel like, however, culturally, these countries had different definitions and you were able to kind of see and appreciate that too? What do you guys think about that?
So I would say that to acknowledge what our society's definition of success is and what my personal experience from myself and from witnessing others' view of success is two different things.
Yeah.
So if I were to go to a different country, say like when I lived in Germany or other parts of Europe, I would say that some of those people have more of a firm grasp on the kind of success that I would define as an ironclad success. You do see more families in other countries. You do see more stay-at-home moms. You do see more family-oriented things, like you said. Yeah. As far as that goes, I think everyone owes it to themselves to travel. You know, so by all
couldn't
means,
agree with that
see
anymore.
how other people live in other parts of the world, so you have different perspectives of what that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, and how it can apply to your life.
I will say one thing, being from Nebraska, my dad is a farmer, and the average farmer in Nebraska is not leaving Nebraska. And I feel so fortunate. Like I can't tell you how much I appreciate that my dad took us somewhere every summer, and it was all domestic. Like, I mean, besides Canada, we went to Canada, but it was all in the US, but we went to San Francisco, we went to Yellowstone, we went to the Black Hills, we went to Chicago. We did so much traveling, and it just exposed us to, different ways of life and different people and all that. And again, it's still in the US, but I have so much of an appreciation for that. I think that because of that, he really instilled in both my brother and I a love for traveling. And, as adults, we've both been able to travel out of the country. But I just can't express strongly enough how important it is for parents to expose their kids to other things,
For sure.
And I think the three of us sitting here can say that, but also the fact that too, in that, we're very independent thinkers too, because we've had these different influences and seen these different things. But Sasha, what about you? Do you remember what the original question was to Dion?
You're gonna have to repeat it.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if you feel like the definition of success in the other countries that you lived, and especially growing up.
Yeah, I remember. No, Hong Kong is a very results driven city. Like Hong Kong's a very unique place. It's an island in the Southeast Asian Ocean. It's just this little plot of land. So literally for you to go to another country, it's like from us going to LA, in a plane, within 45 minutes you can be in another country, So obviously having that kind of exposure to travel and different cultures, like Hong Kong was, I don't know if you can say it still is, but was the business melting pot of all corporations in the whole world. So every company that had a business or a big business was doing business out of Hong Kong. They had an office in Hong Kong. So countries and people from those countries and different cultures all came to Hong Kong, all lived there, went to the schools there, played sports there. So the evolution and time of people from everywhere was just it was a normal thing. Not only were you surrounded by local Chinese Hong Kong people, but you were surrounded by Australians, Americans, Canadians, South Africans, just everybody,
a true melting pot.
For sure, and so it was such a that's why I tell people it's such a unique city, because it was such a beautiful blend of culture. I learned about all religions at such a young age. Went to a mosque, went to a synagogue, went to a church. We learn about all these things. It's such an international place. There was no push on one kind of ideology or one kind of religion or one kind of thought process. It was just here's the information, do with it what you may, and that was such a blessing. But at the same time, Hong Kong is such a hustle and bustle city, major finance place. So people are okay, the atypical Chinese families I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be an accountant. And like, I want you to go to the best school. You know, they'll spend all the money and all the resources to make sure you're getting a tutor. They'll overwork their kids, like
Yeah.
make them have like 3-4 hours of extra private tutors.
Right.
I even taught English in Hong Kong at one point. So
Oh,
I
wow.
got a little bit of a blend of like the kind of like strict and stringent parents
Right.
are on their kids. But for me, it was never like, my parents never were like, you have to do this, or like my mom wanted me to be the doctor or the lawyer, but she at the same time wanted me to be happy.
Yeah.
So sport was successful for me at a young age. I was earning money playing sport from the age of 14. So like my parents saw like, okay, there's possible direction there. And like my dad invested in that more so for me than like, hey, like, let's get you doing this business or like learning about that. And then they let me go kind of how I wanted to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my mom gave me all the tools. She was real strict with me until I got to about the 7th grade. And then she's like, go do you. I gave you the tools, you know, and it was kind of just
Wow.
like that. And
Yeah,
I was
that's
just
so interesting.
and like I was around people who were like super motivated and wanted to do this, wanted to do that. And but it just never was something that crossed my, like school was always something I found pretty easy.
Mhm.
Like I never found school like a difficult thing. I just liked whatever I liked, I did very well in, and whatever I wasn't interested in, I was like, I'll just get by.
Yeah.
You know, but for the most part, I was just hyper focused on sport, getting better in what I was playing or competing in at the time. And that was like my day in, day out on YouTube, like just spending as much time just thinking about it and,
Yeah.
and envisioning it, you know, and that was just something I did a lot. So that was what I was competitive about. It made me competitive. And Hong Kong's not a sport place. Like I said, it's more about business and finance, but
And academics.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like of course, like and Hong Kong's a smart city, like even on the world scale, like the universities there are very like high level and very, very high level of education there. But sport was not like number one. So for me, I had to leave Hong Kong at a young age and go pursue and find like the highest level of sport in my field, which was Australia at the time. But yeah, it was just something that it wasn't something that like crossed on my like wavelength. Like people like that lifestyle, that finance lifestyle, even as an adult, it's like take your clients out, have a nice dinner, go to the nightclub or go to karaoke, do drugs, drink alcohol. Like that whole lifestyle was like wasn't for me ever.
Sure.
You know, like
Yeah.
I got a bit of it. I've had my fun here and there, but like that stuff's just not what I'm into.
Yeah.
You know, so like for me it was sport. You know, and even as ironic, I live in Vegas. Everyone's like, "Oh, it must be crazy out there." It's like, no, like I live in the suburbs. I
Right.
avoid the strip. I go to strip very minimally.
That's what they say to
you
me
know?
too. And I'm like, I don't drink, I don't gamble, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, the reason I'm out here is because it's, you know, the fight capital of the world. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just one of those things where it just didn't mesh with me. So like the people I grew up around were in that like rat race world where I was just kind of like cruising. You know, I always just felt like I'm a very chill, laid back person. So I would see them like, I would just see the stress on them,
Yeah.
you know, and I try to like, I get ready to do something stressful. So I try to like alleviate all stress and live a life where I'm not stressed. Everybody's vibing, everyone's happy. And then it's like, then I go in there, lock that closed door and I'm like, let's stress, you know,
I
it's
think
just different.
too, something that you mentioned that being such a proponent for you in your success is having such supportive parents. And that's something for me that I have two of the most wonderful, loving, supportive parents. And I've said that even with my twists and turns with what I've decided to do professionally, like with my career and the fact that I've literally just decided to move to cities where I didn't know a single person, which a lot of parents would not be supportive of all those things. And my parents have always been super supportive. And so I think that having parents support your exploration too, you know, is super helpful. And I'm curious, Dion, for you, did you have that with your parents where they were supportive of that, or did you just kind of have to find, or were you, I guess, bucking the system in that regard? Or
It's an interesting topic. I think when you have parents that are, I wouldn't say strict, but you know, they have guidelines.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know,
which I did have those.
yeah, if you have loving parents that discipline and give you guidelines, that want for freedom is so prominent when you become of age. These kids these days that can do whatever they want at home, they don't even drive these days.
Yeah.
They don't even
Which
want their license.
I can't imagine.
I wanted my license so bad because that represented freedom.
Yes.
You could drive to another state.
Yeah.
And your parents aren't there to supervise it.
Right.
So I think
back
having
then-
loving discipline in the house is key for wanting that freedom and embracing it and realizing how valuable and important that is.
Yeah. And I was going to say, back then, they couldn't put trackers on our phones. We didn't even have a cell phone. So
Right.
they certainly couldn't track our location,
Exactly.
right?
They can't say, why didn't you answer your phone?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I wasn't supposed to have a pager, so they can't
Right.
say, why didn't you return my page?
You're right. Well, I was going to say too, the one thing that I always say is that I have always had a healthy fear of my father. I've always been terrified to disappoint him. And when we had guidelines and expectations, certainly, but we also didn't have a curfew like in high school because we were just expected to like be reasonable, and to know what we could and couldn't get away with, kind of thing, right? And I just really we were just always pretty good kids anyway. So, but there were a couple times that he literally put the fear of God in me because I was not doing what he thought I should be doing, right? And I think that really contributed to me ending up the way I've ended up as well, because I kind of just always had that, what I call a healthy fear,
Yeah. And it's fun to do mischievous things, Look at the big
we
smile on
had
your face.
yeah, exactly.
Reflecting back on it.
We all had a few ornery moments, but I really had less than the average person, that's for sure. So I'm curious for both of you, since we've talked about your individual, definitions of success and whatnot. How do you feel like the people in your life have supported you in this journey or continue to support you? Like, do you feel like you both have really solid supports, whether it's family or friends? Like, even if family hasn't been the most supportive, you've found people to support and kind of created that network or circle?
Fortunately for me, on that topic, I'm the oldest of 4 other siblings. So I always feel like my siblings look up to me. So that's a level of support that I'm proud of, And then I have my son and my grandson, and they look up to me as well. So, that would be all the support that I would need, as well as my wife, And as far as other people you encounter, you hope they respect and support you. But in this day and age, you never know how else other people are brought up.
Yeah.
So
And
your
you're not
encounters
necessarily expecting that.
right.
Yeah.
And so you have your friends that you're close to that will always support you and respect you. But then there's liabilities of so many other types of people. As long as you have your family and you have your closeness with your people that are most important, that's all that matters.
Few kind of core people.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you feel the same, Sasha, or how
For
do you
sure.
feel?
Especially, of course, family is always number one, most important. But in my sport, it is an individual sport, but it requires a team. It requires a group of people that, not only keep me put together, like my health is obviously most important. So there are people that you have to trust and rely on that can help you stay healthy in what we do. And I've had many people. I've been very fortunate in my field that I've met really great people. For the most part, like, believe it or not, like, I would say like 98% of fighters are really good people, and
That's what I've experienced.
yeah, and like they're, for the most part, I've met really cool people, met great coaches, and I have some sponsors that have looked after me for my whole time that I've lived in Vegas. Just good-hearted people who generally want the best for you, and like you said, we mentioned before, just when you cross paths with certain people, it's like it all depends on how they're raised, the kind of people that they are, and obviously you can't tell off the bat like who you're dealing with and what you're gonna get. But with the experience of meeting so many people and traveling and having that experience, I think that's also maybe a superpower that I may have as well, is just kind of knowing or getting a vibe off of somebody and knowing like what kind of energy they bring to the table. Because there was a time in my life when I was very young where I had a massive following or crowd that you could say, and then I found out quick like who really mattered in my life, and like that circle turned into like 5 or 6, so it's like at the end of the day, it's like when you have something to offer people, like just like leeches, just like barnacles, they'll find a way on you, and they'll find a way to benefit themselves, and then they'll make a way with it. But when you really need like somebody's help, that's when you truly find out like who's there for you,
Yeah.
So like that was kind of like something I learned at a young age, because I've had multiple careers as an athlete. So they were able to like kind of at a young age, I was able to get disappointed by people and learn like, okay, this is what matters. And that was a team environment. I played in a team sport, but now that I'm in an individual sport,
Yeah.
like I have full control of like what circles I put myself into, who I hang out with. And like, for me, I've just learned like keep your circle small, and when you do, you know, hang out with people, make sure these people are positive people, and they're gonna make you feel good, and people around you are gonna feel comfortable around them too. Like that's just kind of how I've always been.
Yeah.
You know, just try to keep it good vibes, and nobody needs to be upset. You know.
Yeah.
So that's how I've always been.
I think we can all say that we've probably learned over time to have a better read on people and kind of what their intentions are, you know, because I think, well, and again, coming from Nebraska, it's just such a like trusting place. And so I have always been more on the side of too trusting than not, right? Like discerning is something I've had to learn as I've gotten older. But I think that with time and, you know, meeting all these different types of people, we definitely do kind of learn the lessons with that. Sometimes the hard lesson at certain points, for sure. How do you two feel about discipline? Like the idea of discipline and how important it is with either success or having like a well-rounded kind of either content or what you would call happy life?
Well, you have to have that self-discipline. And in a perfect world, you would have a support that would hold you accountable to things, you know.
Like as in a partner or?
As a partner in business, or just as a partner in life,
Yeah.
you know, to how you want to raise your household, how you want to, you know, structure your life, the planning, the accountability. If you say you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you have someone there that's going to remind you and hold you accountable. And I think that's an important business strategy, to have an accountability partner.
Have you found that you can take that feedback easily, or has it been tough for you in the past and you're better with it now? Because what I find is, I'm sure what little you guys know about me is that I can say things to certain people that I see, and maybe they're not ready to receive it or hear it because, again, they're kind of like in my personal life, not my professional life. And I actually have lost a couple friendships in that because I'm just a person that's going to keep it real. And I can't, if I see something, again, and I've had to learn kind of what's my place and what's not. But if I see something kind of dysfunctional or damaging or potentially harmful to someone, I have a hard time not saying something about it.
Well, I can tell you from experience, from being older, you know, turned 51 this year.
Seasoned.
It's harder to admit you're wrong the older you get and the more stubborn and set in your ways you are.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is when you can come to your person that, you know, approaches you with issues, and you can admit to that person that you're wrong, it's such a rewarding feeling.
Yeah.
You know, because you've given them something, almost like a gift of them being assured that they weren't out of place or disrespectful when they did that, and there was actually a good point in that.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the ability to admit when you're wrong and take accountability is a very valuable thing to be.
I completely agree. I just think that for some people, it's very tough.
And I would say that those people knew they were wrong and they just weren't ready to admit it.
Yeah.
And that's usually when you lose someone. Even
Yeah.
in a debate, when one person is sort of learning about that other person and has conflicting views and keeps wanting to keep the debate going, the person that's being challenged on all their views and doesn't really have an answer and doesn't want to admit maybe you have a point, that's the one that's going to take off.
Yeah.
And
right.
not and not want to interact anymore, and you've probably lost that friend for a while.
And that's one thing that I've found too, is that with new people, really the minute that someone gets defensive rather than hear something, I'm like, it's just too much work. It's because, again, I am working with people all day, every day, and my profession takes a lot of emotional energy. My personal life has to be pretty seamless. It's got to be pretty, like you said, like low key, low maintenance, just laid back, because I'm already doing a lot of work and expending a lot of energy in my professional life. So there really are a few things that once I experience them very briefly with someone that's kind of new to me, I'm like, you know what? I just have to kind of keep you over there. Like, fine being cordial. We can interact, all that. You can be an acquaintance. We can spend some time together, but I can't take that on in my personal life because it just requires too much energy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Me, I'm reluctant to give up. I want to keep on. I want to get
You
to
want
an
to hammer
understanding.
away, don't you?
No, I just want to
Right.
come to an understanding. You know,
Right.
sometimes you come to the understanding and you have clarity that you just think differently.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in some instances, there's a wrong and right. So, you know, I like to come down to that.
The wrong and right. I can talk about that too as a separate topic. But I'm curious, Sasha. What do you think about discipline as impacting your? I mean, truly, what you define success, but just kind of in your everyday life.
No, it's very important to have discipline in anything that you do. Without discipline, you won't get results. Again, it depends on your expectations, but obviously, discipline for me was taught at a young age. My parents, like my parents today is not the parents of today. Like
Yeah.
the parents I had growing up were, of today would be considered criminals, I suppose. But no, and I look at it at the finest point. People might think I'm barbaric, but it's like, look, you smack a dog, the dog knows, don't do that again. And it was the same thing for me as a kid. I was running off the walls. I was a wild child, and I understood, okay, don't do that. I don't want to get hit again. And I wouldn't get hit a lot because I would understand that from the first time. Like, okay, don't do that, But it was just something that, discipline was something that my parents instilled, especially when I was very young, until about the 7th grade. They had a tight leash on me, had curfews, had everything, and I think it was important, and even I remember, even at 6, 7 years old, all I ever wanted to be was an adult. I just wanted to have my freedom. I wanted to have a bank account.
You wanted to be in control.
For sure. I was,
And point earlier.
yeah, and it was just one of those things where I was just, and Hong Kong's a very safe place. So my parents had no problem with me just going and walking around, going to the park and stuff on my own.
Yeah.
It's a safe place, and I just felt like an adult and always wanted to just be doing my thing. So, I think discipline played a part in that. And then, of course, being an athlete, you have to be disciplined. The Friday nights, Saturday nights, people going out partying, your friends in high school are going and having a good time. And I'm, training or, staying at home because I got training the next day or whatever it is. But that was always something that my parents taught me at a young age. It's you don't want to do that. The culture in Hong Kong, the British culture, because it was a former British colony, it's very drink alcohol orientated. It's everyone's about it, big wine scene, everybody's all about it, So for me, all my friends and all their parents were all that's what they did. That's all. My dad wasn't a drinker, so he wasn't about that. And then so it just wasn't what I did. And
I was gonna say it's worked out because you said earlier that that's never really been what you've been into anyway, and it really helps with what you've chosen to do as well.
For sure. It's just the health. It's just healthier for your body, and it's just in what I do. I need to have my body on point. I need to recover. I need to be able to get my sleep. All these activities are don't get me wrong. I have a drink. I'm not no, I will never drink alcohol. Don't get me wrong. I'll have a drink every once in a while, especially if it tastes good.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just try to, be conscious of my diet. And I told you, I have a small window. So I just try to be disciplined, make sure I'm on point. Don't get me wrong. When I'm done fighting, I'm not going to become an alcoholic, but I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to definitely try some things that I've never tried before. I would love to go on a wine tour, do all those things, and not have to feel guilty.
I love the experience. I love wine tours because I love the ambiance, the experience.
It looks fun.
Right.
It looks fun.
It's great.
You got to go to Napa.
And I've been because my sister
you've
lived.
not been. Yeah.
My sister lived outside of Sacramento, so we would go up there. We've been up there a few times, and she would show us around. But I love the experience of it.
That's
so,
cool.
kind of with where the discipline topic evolved with Dion, do you feel like you take feedback fairly well?
It depends who it's from.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if I respect you and it's someone that's in my inner circle and it's someone that someone that I consider their advice worthy to my cause, then of course, if it's someone who's, I'm always around straight shooters.
Yeah.
I don't like yes men or yes women. If there's something up, you highlight it. I don't need to be told everything's, roses and fairies. Like I'm all for the real world, and that's how I live my life. I'm also like that same kind of way. I say what's on my mind, and I don't really sugarcoat anything,
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where I respect the people that I respect, and if they see something that they truly see and believe is something that is not only the advice will help me and benefit me, then of course I'm gonna take that and hopefully work on it. But
Yeah.
for the most part, like I said, you don't need to fix what's not broken. You know what I mean? And until that day comes, until I feel something's up, like everything I'm doing, everything that's the pieces are moving, like, yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like
Moving forward.
Exactly.
One of the toughest lessons I learned literally 14 years ago when I started as a therapist, is that I really believe that there's a kernel of truth in nearly anything someone would say to us. So again, of course, there are people that are malicious or bad intentioned or, whatever. And that's kind of like the small population that doesn't matter, right? But otherwise, even if I don't really like the person and for me, this is, what I have felt, necessarily respect everything that person is about. If they are saying something to me that is somewhat well-intentioned, I think that there might be a kernel of truth in whatever they're giving me as feedback. And then it's like my job to find what that is. Not that they're 100% right or even 75% right or whatever, but I have just learned, because feedback has been hard for me just in that I've been historically a perfectionist and I have excelled, in school and like the things that I've done. So when you hold yourself to that standard, it's hard for someone to tell you that you're less than that, So it's been something historically that's been kind of tough for me, but I have learned, at least for me, that if someone's giving me feedback, then there's kind of a kernel that I have to find, And so that's been good for me to just be a little more open-minded. But I'm just always curious about whether people, because I think one of the toughest things to do is to take feedback and not let it impact how you feel in that, or how you interact with the other person, because I think that's just kind of a
small nuances of it could, and
yeah.
The important thing is you have conversations or encounters like that and they leave you thinking. That's always a good thing. I feel like I've been left with conversations where I never will forget certain things that someone says to me. And that's a valuable thing moving forward in how you interact with other people and live your life.
Yeah. And that's actually how I feel about this feedback that I got like literally 14 years ago. I'll never forget it. And it made me cry all day as a therapist that day. But
wow.
Kind of my last question that's on this topic is, I feel like I don't see either of you as people that are trying to compare yourself to others. I feel like you are both strongly rooted like in yourselves, but how do you prevent yourself from wanting to compare to other people's, quote unquote success or what they have? And how would you recommend for someone that's struggling with that to move away from doing that?
Some of what you said has nuance to it, because I think I get inspiration from people, even if they're not in my field, even if they're not doing things that I necessarily would want to do.
Yeah.
The way you see people carry themselves in situations, you can get inspiration and not compare yourself to them in a way that you want to be just like them, but just to know how to process and carry yourself based on the encounters that they have. Inspiration can come from any direction.
Agreed.
And I think that when you can open yourself up to that, I think we become better people for that.
So I love that answer, because I feel like what you're describing is, certain people you see doing something that you strive to do more of, or like that you want to be more of. And you're seeing that as a positive thing rather than a negative of like, why am I not that way?
Right.
Or it's not a way to beat yourself up.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they may have everything else all wrong.
Yeah. Right.
But there's something about them that did inspire me. And I think you can get that from almost anyone.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I feel like just recently, with my business, it's always a struggle to do the business piece of it because I love the thing that I do. I love my one-on-one sessions. I love my small groups. I love these conversations.
I love
But
it too.
yeah, but then to do the marketing and the bookkeeping and the taxes, like I hate that stuff, right? But I do see other people that, are kind of streamlining it or doing certain things that I'm not doing that I really like aspire to be. And it's really not a comparison. It's truly like I would love to one day get there kind of thing.
Yeah, you might see someone else hire an assistant for all that stuff.
Literally. And once I make enough money, Dion, that'll be me, but one day. But what about you, Sasha? As far as comparing?
It's kind of hard to say, like, actually, I just lost my train of thought. Remind me
Repeat
again.
the question. So, really just the idea, I don't see you as someone who's comparing yourself to others a lot. Yeah.
Yes, sorry. So,
But
yeah, no, social media unfortunately has put so much stress on the young kids and then the people coming up now. They turn on their phone and like, oh, that's perfect life right there. That's all what I need in life is this, that, and the other. But the reality is, and I've said it from the get-go, is focus on yourself. Make sure you're happy. Make sure you're doing the things you want to do. And if you're not able to do it, there's no excuse for saying, no, I can't do this, or my situation is so bad that I can't do that. There's always a way. It's if you truly want to find it. You may have to work harder than some other people, yes, but that might not even be the case. Like the reality is, if you want to do stuff that you want to do, there's no reason. It's just now it's hard to find what it is you love and what it is you're passionate about. So never compare yourself to anybody else, in my opinion. Like he said, get inspiration from it. I love seeing people win. I love seeing even my competitors, especially my friends, people around me. I love seeing them win. And like that should be the mentality. It shouldn't be jealous. It shouldn't be like, oh, that's not fair. Why aren't I winning? It's like, unfortunately, now everyone has that negative aspect or that mindset because of social media.
Yeah.
Everyone gets jealous. Everyone gets upset. Oh, I hate that guy because he has what I want. It's not even necessarily what he wants that you don't have. It's necessarily the experience or the things that he's doing in life that you're just sitting in your mom's basement, with no aspirations and no goals. So that's kind of what it is. Like you should be able to, as he mentioned, like see these people and be inspired by what they're doing and motivated to go and achieve those things if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just get upset, hate about it, and then talk shit about it, And at the end, everyone's a talker. You have your phone right here. You get stuck in that matrix, and then you're never going to be able to achieve anything.
Yeah.
But if you put that phone down for a while, you can achieve a lot, and you can use that freaking phone to learn a lot too, So like I always tell people, like there's no excuse to say I can't learn about this or I can't do that. I can't go to that university. Everything is online. Everything is free online.
Literally, YouTube
You
University is
everything.
a thing. Yeah.
You can learn everything and anything you want if you truly want it. And like that's the problem. People don't want it, and they'll be quick to just say, "Oh, I don't want to do this because it's hard," or "I don't want to do this because it got rejected." There's so many successful people out there who have failed so many times.
Yeah.
Millions of times, hundreds of thousands of times. They don't get it on the first go.
Yeah.
So people need to realize that. And I think social media unfortunately makes people have like just crazy thoughts and process like, oh, I'm just going to apply one.
Glamorizes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to try one time and I'm going to be a TikTok star. It's like, nah, don't work like that. Like, especially in that world. Like in that world now, it's so saturated. Like everyone wants to be a viral sensation or a big social media influencer. Like nobody wants to be a doctor anymore.
Right.
So people need to realize like what's important and what makes them happy. And hey, if that's what makes you happy, then go ahead. But in my opinion, the influence that these kids now are getting from their parents, that's the problem. Like they're not the parents are not telling them, hey, like these people are clowns. Like don't look at these kids like inspiration,
Yeah.
You should be looking at becoming this or looking at learning this. Like, but hey, that's just my opinion.
Right.
Like, but at the end of the day, like, that's just my generation, our generation. Like what we grew up is way different to what we see now.
It's just so different.
Yeah.
And I miss so many aspects of it. Like it just,
For sure.
We really had it good there for the time that we did. And
it was like at least in my opinion, it was like the right amount of tough. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
agree.
Like now it's just like incredibly soft. And like,
You guys are old souls.
Right. Well, but we also, I mean,
I think we just skipped it because like literally like
we were at the tail end of it, and
like we started the internet era.
Yes.
Like we were like when I was in high school.
I had AOL Instant Messenger, and my brother and I fought over the computer every night trying to get on.
I think I mentioned pager earlier, and I don't think you guys were even around.
No, I mean,
I remember the
we
pagers.
at least know what the pager is.
Yeah, but I remember finding a blocked cell phone in my apartment
5 minutes worth of cell time.
Yeah, it was wild. But like
the good old days.
I was like appreciative because like the first whatever 10 years of my life, like I didn't have a cell phone. No, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 16, but like didn't use the internet, like 18. Didn't really do much like in that regard, and then got birthed into that where they were teaching you that in school, like this is how you use a computer, and then boom, email, and then we learned everything as it went. I remember I had the first ever iPhone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like straight out of Hong Kong. Wow. Like, that wasn't even available in North America yet,
Yeah.
So just like all that.
Did you hold on to that one, Sasha?
Unfortunately
I
not.
know.
It'd be
it's
worth
like
quite
you
a
could
bit.
have had a relic.
Everyone wishes they had
if you had the first iPhone still in its box, it's like 50 grand.
That's crazy.
Really? Yeah. Yeah, like in the plastic still, like you can go on eBay and buy it for 50 grand.
I'll keep the iPhone 20 and so
right, exactly. Try to just hold on to the one. Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
way.
funny.
They're relics.
Well, thank you both so much for this. The way I love to end the episode is to share your favorite or one of your favorite places to eat in Las Vegas, because I am a super foodie, and I am hoping one day that this might be over some food, sharing some food with people. So
hey, let's do the next podcast in a restaurant.
At Carbone, maybe. Dion,
we
right?
We can do Carbone, yeah. We can do that.
But yeah, so one of my favorites that I'll share is House of Dutch Pot. It's a Jamaican place that's south of Flamingo on Durango. And the owner and chef there, O'Neill, has become a good friend because I frequent it so often, but I love it. The brown stew chicken, amazing. Curry chicken. Love the patties, love it all. So that's my one I'm going to share for today. But how about you, Sasha?
There's a restaurant you might be maybe familiar because they go crazy on the wine, Partage.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In is it Chinatown?
Yep.
Or Koreatown?
Right there on Spring Mountain.
Yeah. I know the chef personally. He's a Michelin star chef. He's actually fought a couple times as an amateur. I used to train him.
Oh my gosh.
But he's a phenomenal chef. So I've been there. I think I've been there twice now. But yeah, it's like a whole experience. It's fine dining.
Yeah.
So it's like if you really want to have a party in your mouth.
I've heard it's very, very fancy.
Oh yeah, it's really good. And then like I even did it because I'm not a wine drinker, but it was recommended to pair it with the wine because it literally, they have it like mapped out with like an 8-course meal with like a wine pairing with every single edible food you eat.
Yeah.
And
it
it
makes
like
a difference.
it was phenomenal. Like in that regard, like that's how you're supposed to drink wine in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like as an experience.
Right.
And that for me, in my opinion, was one of the better experiences in Vegas.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, yeah.
And have a professional tell you, like they're choosing those for a reason, and like it's a whole experience.
And it's all seasonal, and it all depends on the time of the year, and everything's like fresh, like the best of the best. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I like that. How about you, Dion?
It's hard to narrow it down, but if
I know,
you guys were to say, let's go out to eat somewhere right now, and I'm paying, in other words, not me, but one of you guys, I would say, let's go to Bazaar Meat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That place is really cool. They have different aging on the meat. They have like all the tapas. They have,
Sahara, right?
Sahara. Yeah, it's in the Sahara. Yeah.
That place is
great
awesome.
wine in there. That's one of my all-time favorites. Because I'm a meat eater, so
I know, same.
Yeah,
Nebraska girl, we are three meat eaters
tough,
for
though,
sure. Yeah,
Lotus of Siam, that's up there. That
the
one
old
caught
one.
me by surprise. The first one,
yes,
first
the original
one
on Flamingo,
in that little forbidden strip mall. That was ideal.
I love it.
Awesome.
I'm a big Thai fan too, so. I can appreciate that. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today and offering your thoughts. I appreciate you all joining to listen. And if you would like and subscribe to the Peace of Wellness podcast, I appreciate you. I'll be sharing another episode here soon, so please keep your eye out for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.